ExamPrep.School. Texas Guardianship Certification Exam, Exam Code JBCC. There are 4 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Application of surrogate decision-making, Code of Ethics and Minimum Standards, Financial Management, Knowledge of laws, courts, and legal processes, Knowledge of ward, Medical decision-making, Personal management, Professional practices. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Under Texas guardianship law, which task performed by a guardian requires explicit prior court approval before delegation? A. Scheduling a routine medical appointment for the ward. B. Selling the ward's real property. C. Contracting household maintenance services for the ward's residents. D. Withdrawing funds from the ward's bank account to pay monthly bills. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is selling the ward's real property, because Texas law requires a court order before a guardian may delegate or execute the sale of a ward's real property. Reason A is not correct. Routine medical appointment scheduling is a standard guardianship duty that does not require court approval before delegation. Reason C is not correct. Arranging household maintenance is considered ordinary estate management and can be delegated without prior court order. Reason D is not correct. Withdrawing funds for monthly bills is part of routine financial management and does not need explicit court approval to delegate. Question 2. A professional guardian arranges for a private caregiver to provide daily personal care to a ward. The guardian reviews summary reports but relies on the caregiver to handle all care decisions. Which guardian duty remains non-delegable under JBCC standards? A. Making healthcare treatment decisions based on the ward's expressed preferences. B. Reviewing and approving the caregiver's scheduling of daily activities. C. Supervising the caregiver's routine documentation of the ward's meals. D. Authorizing minor household repairs on behalf of the ward. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is that the guardian must personally make treatment decisions consistent with the ward's preferences. Other tasks such as scheduling, documentation, and household repairs can be delegated under supervision. Reason B is not correct. Scheduling of daily activities can be delegated with periodic review and does not require the guardian's direct action. Reason C is not correct. Routine documentation by the caregiver is a delegable administrative task when adequately overseen. Reason D is not correct. Authorizing minor household repairs is a ministerial function that may be delegated under JBCC standards. Question 3. A guardian contracts with an external agency to manage the ward's estate investments. To comply with JBCC oversight requirements for third-party providers, the guardian should take which action? A. Rely exclusively on quarterly statements provided by the agency. B. Establish a written agreement detailing fiduciary responsibilities and performance benchmarks. C. Delegate the selection and monitoring of investment options entirely to the agency. D. Obtain annual waivers releasing the guardian from liability for potential investment losses. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is to create a formal contract outlining the agency's fiduciary duties and clear performance criteria to ensure ongoing oversight and accountability. Reason A is not correct. Relying solely on agency reports fails to establish proactive guardianship oversight and accountability. Reason C is not correct. Full delegation of selection and monitoring neglects the guardian's duty to actively supervise third-party providers. Reason D is not correct. Liability waivers cannot relieve the guardian of fiduciary responsibilities under JBCC rules. Question 4. A guardian's office is closing, and the guardian asks when the guardianship case files must be discarded. According to Texas guardianship regulations, how long must the records be retained after the case terminates? A. At least 2 years after termination. B. At least 3 years after termination. C. At least 5 years after termination. D. Indefinitely without a specified end date. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is at least 5 years because Texas guardianship rules require guardians to retain records for that duration after the case ends to ensure availability for audits and compliance checks. Reason A is not correct. 2 years does not meet the minimum statutory requirement for record retention under Texas guardianship rules. Reason B is not correct. 3 years falls short of the 5-year retention period mandated for guardianship files in Texas. Reason D is not correct. No indefinite retention is required. Texas rules specify a finite 5-year period. Question 5. A guardian manages both paper and electronic medical records for a ward. The paper files are currently stored in a locked cabinet on site, and digital files are kept on an internal server. To ensure HIPAA compliance while allowing appropriate access, which storage plan is best? A. Keep paper records in a locked cabinet and digital files on an encrypted cloud server with access controls and audit trails. B. Maintain paper records in an unlocked office drawer and digital records in a standard cloud service secured only by a single password. C. Keep electronic records on an unencrypted local server in the office and paper records in a desk drawer that is occasionally locked. D. Retain paper files in a fire-resistant safe in the office and electronic files on a password-protected USB drive stored in a locked desk drawer. The correct answer is A. This option is correct because it applies both physical safeguards, locked cabinet, and technical safeguards, encryption, access controls, audit trails, as required under HIPAA. Reason B is not correct. Storing paper records in an unsecured drawer fails to meet HIPAA physical safeguard requirements. Reason C is not correct. Unencrypted server storage does not satisfy HIPAA's technical safeguard standards. Reason D is not correct. Relying on a portable USB drive without audit trails risks unauthorized access and data loss. Question 6. In plain language communication with a ward under guardianship, what is the term for the technique of grouping related information into small, coherent units labeled with clear headings? A. Scaffolding. B. Signposting. C. Chunking. D. Narrative sequencing. The correct answer is C. Chunking involves organizing information into small, manageable sections with clear headings, which enhances comprehension for readers with varying literacy levels. Reason A is not correct. Scaffolding adds support progressively rather than grouping related information into sections. Reason B is not correct. Signposting guides through the structure but does not focus on grouping content into labeled units. Reason D is not correct. Narrative sequencing orders events logically rather than creating distinct labeled groups of information. Question 7. As the court-appointed guardian, you are organizing a multidisciplinary meeting to discuss the ward's care plan. The ward has profound hearing loss and uses American Sign Language (ASL) as their primary language. Which accommodation best complies with the ADA during the meeting? A. Provide written meeting minutes at the end of the session. B. Offer to have someone relay a summary via telephone after the meeting. C. Arrange for a qualified ASL interpreter for real-time communication. D. Ensure a CART service displays real-time English captions during the meeting. The correct answer is C. Providing a qualified ASL interpreter ensures real-time access to communication in the ward's primary language, as required by ADA regulations for effective participation. Reason A is not correct. Providing written minutes after the meeting does not guarantee real-time access or effective participation during discussions. Reason B is not correct. Relaying a summary afterward fails to offer the ward equal access at the time discussions occur, which ADA prohibits. Reason D is not correct. Real-time English captions may not be fully accessible if the ward primarily uses ASL and may have limited English literacy. Question 8. Which of the following is not one of the standard functional assessment domains used in guardianship evaluations? A. Cognitive functioning, for example, memory orientation. B. Activities of daily living, for example, bathing, dressing. C. Psychosocial functioning, for example, interpersonal relationships. D. Vocational skills, for example, job performance. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is vocational skills, because guardianship functional assessments typically focus on cognitive functioning, activities of daily living, psychosocial functioning, communication, behavior, health and safety, and other essential daily function domains, but not vocational skills. Vocational skills refer to employment-related abilities, which lie outside core guardianship assessment domains. Reason A is not correct. Cognitive functioning is a core domain assessing memory and orientation, so it does not meet the not criterion. Reason B is not correct. Activities of daily living are fundamental assessment areas in guardianship evaluations, so this option is not correct. Reason C is not correct. Psychosocial functioning, including interpersonal relationships, is a recognized functional domain, thus not the correct answer. Question 9. During an initial meeting, a 78-year-old ward describes feeling listless, despite previously enjoying gardening, woodworking, and family gatherings. The ward seems reluctant to discuss future aspirations and often replies, "I don't know," when asked what they want. Which strategy should the guardian employ to effectively elicit the ward's values and life goals to guide the guardianship planning process? A. Administer a standardized values inventory and interpret the results without further discussion. B. Review past medical and social service records to infer current preferences. C. Present a list of common life goals and ask the ward to select those that resonate. D. Encourage storytelling by asking the ward to describe peak life experiences and why they were meaningful. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is to encourage storytelling about peak experiences, because open-ended narrative prompts enable the ward to articulate deeply held values and goals, while other approaches rely on predefined categories or external interpretation. Reason A is not correct. Standardized inventories can impose categories that may not reflect the ward's unique priorities and risk misinterpretation without dialogue. Reason B is not correct. Past records may not accurately represent the ward's current aspirations or reflect unspoken values. Reason C is not correct. Offering a preset list confines the ward's responses to those options and can overlook personal nuances. Question 10. Mr. Garcia, a ward under guardianship due to cognitive impairment from a stroke, is able to make certain personal choices. The court order specifies that the guardian retains healthcare decision-making authority, while the ward maintains rights over social and recreational activities. Mr. Garcia expresses a strong desire to resume his weekly bowling league. Which action best respects Mr. Garcia's right to participate in decision-making regarding his social activities? A. Decline his request because the guardian retains full decision-making over all activities. B. Arrange a meeting with Mr. Garcia to discuss his bowling interest and coordinate with the facility to support his participation. C. Discuss the bowling request only with family members, informing Mr. Garcia afterwards. D. Allow Mr. Garcia to attend without any medical consultation, bypassing the guardian's authority. The correct answer is B. This option is correct because it involves Mr. Garcia directly in planning his social activities, honors the court's specification that he retains decision-making rights over recreational choices, and balances support with his autonomy. Reason A is not correct. This is incorrect because the guardian's authority is limited to healthcare decisions and does not override the ward's rights over social activities. Reason C is not correct. This is incorrect because it excludes Mr. Garcia from the decision-making process by only consulting family members. Reason D is not correct. This is incorrect because it ignores the guardian's coordinating role and risks safety by bypassing necessary support structures. Question 11. A court-appointed decision-making facilitator meets Mr. Alvarez, a 32-year-old man with mild intellectual disability, who insists on managing his own lease and utility bills. His sister requests plenary guardianship after noting he missed 2 small payments. Considering his expression of preferences and Texas law's emphasis on least restrictive alternatives, which approach best balances his autonomy and need for support? A. Facilitate a supported decision-making agreement that identifies persons to assist him in understanding and signing documents while preserving his legal capacity. B. Recommend full guardianship over all personal and financial matters to ensure compliance. C. Decline any legal arrangement and suggest his sister informally guide him through each payment. D. Petition for a limited guardianship solely over his financial affairs to address the payment lapses. The correct answer is A. This option is correct because it uses the least restrictive measure by formalizing supports without removing legal capacity, aligns with Texas law favoring supported decision-making over guardianship when possible, and respects the individual's clear preferences. Reason B is not correct. Recommending full guardianship is overly restrictive given the individual's demonstrated ability and clear preference to manage decisions with support. Reason C is not correct. Suggesting only informal guidance fails to create a legally recognized structure to verify capacity and protect against misunderstandings or undue influence. Reason D is not correct. Pursuing a limited guardianship still removes legal capacity for financial decisions when less restrictive supported decision-making is available. Question 12. Carla, a court-appointed guardian, observes that her ward has patterned bruises on both forearms one Friday evening and suspects physical abuse. Even though adult protective services offices are closed on weekends, she knows Texas law still applies. Within how many calendar hours after forming this suspicion must she submit the required report? A. Within 24 calendar hours. B. Within 96 calendar hours. C. Within 72 calendar hours. D. Within 48 calendar hours. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is that Texas Human Resources Code. Section 48.051 requires a report of suspected abuse be made no later than 48 calendar hours after a mandatory reporter becomes aware or suspects the abuse, regardless of office hours or weekends. Reason A is not correct. Reporting within 24 hours is sooner than required. Texas law allows up to 48 hours. Reason B is not correct. There is no provision allowing up to 96 hours. The maximum is 48 calendar hours. Reason C is not correct. Waiting 72 hours exceeds the 48-hour reporting deadline under Texas law. Question 13. Miriam, an adult ward with early-stage dementia and recognized to lack capacity for self-care decisions, previously expressed a strong desire to remain living in her family home rather than move to a facility. Her guardian now needs to arrange daily personal care services. Applying substituted judgment, which approach most closely aligns with her known preference? A. Arrange for in-home personal care visits multiple times daily despite higher coordination demands. B. Place her in a local assisted living facility to ensure consistent staffing and reduce family coordination. C. Enroll her in a weekday adult day program and arrange overnight skilled nursing facility stays. D. Transfer her to a memory care unit near family to balance clinical support and proximity. The correct answer is A. This option most directly honors the ward's previously stated desire to stay at home by arranging in-home personal care services, reflecting substituted judgment based on her known preference. Reason B is not correct. This choice prioritizes staffing consistency over the ward's explicit wish to remain in her home. Reason C is not correct. This hybrid approach deviates from her known preference to live exclusively at home. Reason D is not correct. This option relocates her to a facility despite her clear wish to avoid institutional placement. Question 14. Jonas, a ward with moderate intellectual disability and frail health, faces a high-risk heart valve surgery. He expresses fear of the procedure, but medical experts indicate that the surgery offers significant survival benefits. Which decision best reflects a guardian's duty when weighing risks and benefits in the ward's best interest? A. Respect his refusal and continue with conservative medical management to avoid procedural risks. B. Choose palliative care focusing on comfort measures given the perioperative mortality risk. C. Authorize the recommended surgery to maximize his survival prospects, despite surgical risks. D. Petition the court for a capacity reevaluation before proceeding with any treatment decision. The correct answer is C. Authorizing the surgery balances the significant survival benefit against risks, fulfilling the guardian's obligation to act in the ward's best interest. Reason A is not correct. This choice avoids risk but forgoes a treatment that offers substantial survival benefit. Reason B is not correct. Palliative care deprioritizes life-extending intervention despite its recommended status. Reason D is not correct. Reevaluating capacity delays a critical decision and is unnecessary if incapacity is already established. Question 15. As guardian, which decision best reconciles respect for the ward's advance directive refusing artificial nutrition with consideration of his current risk of dehydration and distress? A. Proceed with feeding tube placement to address immediate dehydration based on his present condition. B. Authorize temporary intravenous hydration to alleviate distress while honoring his refusal of artificial nutrition. C. Petition the court to clarify his current preferences before making any intervention. D. Decline placement of a feeding tube in accordance with the advance directive, accepting the risk of further decline. The correct answer is D. The correct answer adheres to substituted judgment by following the ward's explicit advance directive refusing artificial nutrition, which takes precedence over short-term measures unless the directive allows otherwise. Reason A is not correct. Placing the feeding tube overrides the ward's explicit refusal of artificial nutrition and violates substituted judgment principles. Reason B is not correct. Temporary intravenous hydration still constitutes artificial nutrition, directly conflicting with the explicit refusal in the advance directive. Reason C is not correct. Obtaining court clarification would cause unnecessary delay and is not required when the directive is clear. Question 16. In a decision-specific capacity evaluation, the appreciation component is best defined as a person's ability to A. Accurately comprehend and recall factual details about the decision. B. Acknowledge how information and its consequences apply to their own situation. C. Logically compare risks and benefits to reach a reasoned conclusion. D. Clearly express a consistent choice or preference regarding the decision. The correct answer is B. The appreciation component requires recognizing that decision-related facts and their consequences are relevant to one's own circumstances. It differs from understanding, factual comprehension, reasoning, weighing risks, benefits, and expression, communicating a choice. Reason A is not correct. This describes the understanding component, which focuses on factual comprehension rather than personal relevance. Reason C is not correct. This reflects the reasoning component, involving logical comparison rather than personal acknowledgement. Reason D is not correct. This reflects the expression component, which involves communicating a decision rather than internalizing its relevance. Question 17. A guardian is preparing to obtain informed consent from a ward with mild cognitive impairment for a new insulin regimen. The ward has a supported decision-making agreement designating a trusted friend to assist with understanding complex information. Which step best ensures valid informed consent consistent with supported decision-making principles? A. Provide only the statutory consent form to the ward and support friend without any additional explanation. B. Have the friend sign the consent form on behalf of the ward to expedite the treatment process. C. Invoke the supported decision-making agreement. Have the friend explain risks and benefits, confirm understanding via teachback, and document accordingly. D. Proceed with the guardian's signature as the ward's legal representative because of the ward's diminished decision-making capacity. The correct answer is C. This approach invokes the supported decision-making agreement, involves the support person in explaining treatment details, uses teachback to confirm the ward's comprehension, and documents the process in line with supported consent guidelines. Reason A is not correct. Providing only the form without explanation fails to leverage available supports to facilitate the ward's comprehension. Reason B is not correct. Having the friend sign for the ward bypasses the ward's own decision-making role and contradicts supported decision-making principles. Reason D is not correct. Signing on behalf of the ward disregards the ward's right to participate with assistance despite cognitive impairment. Question 8. A court requests Dr. Patel's expert opinion on Mr. Ramirez's capacity to refuse a feeding tube. During assessment, Mr. Ramirez articulates risks and benefits but insists he hears voices telling him the tube is poison. His daughter urges placement for nutritional support. In preparing the capacity opinion for the court, what role should Dr. Patel assume? A. Advocate for the placement recommended by the daughter to ensure safety. B. Offer a neutral clinical evaluation of his decision-making abilities against statutory criteria. C. Recommend that the court immediately appoint a guardian based on safety concerns. D. Decline to offer an opinion and defer capacity assessment to a psychiatrist. The correct answer is B. The correct approach is to provide an impartial clinical assessment of cognitive and decisional abilities using relevant legal standards without advocating for placement or making legal determinations. Reason A is not correct. The expert should remain objective and not advocate for a particular outcome based on safety alone. Reason C is not correct. The clinician's role is to assess capacity, not to recommend immediate guardianship appointments. Reason D is not correct. Declining to opine when within one's expertise fails the duty to inform the court with specialized knowledge. Question 19. A guardian is working with a ward who has mild intellectual disability and can manage most daily tasks with some support but has limited social engagement. Before considering any residential placement, which action best reflects the least restrictive approach by promoting community integration? A. Place the ward in a licensed group home with 24-hour staff supervision and structured routines. B. Enroll the ward in a community day habilitation program to build daily living skills and social connections. C. Arrange admission to an assisted living facility that provides on-site nursing and medical care. D. Delay all community-based activities until an in-home support plan with full staffing is completely arranged. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is to enroll the ward in a community day habilitation program because it fosters skill development and social inclusion while allowing the ward to remain in their local community, making it the least restrictive option before considering residential placement. Reason A is not correct. Placing the ward in a group home involves continuous residential oversight, which is more restrictive than community-based day services. Reason C is not correct. Assisted living provides on-site residential care and medical supervision, making it a more restrictive alternative than community day programs. Reason D is not correct. Delaying community activities postpones needed social integration and does not offer immediate supportive engagement in the community. Question 20. A 68-year-old ward with mild dementia and limited mobility lives semi-independently with periodic caregiver visits. The Guardian is evaluating assistive technologies to promote autonomy while minimizing restrictions. Which least restrictive approach best supports the ward's independence? A. Equip the home with voice-activated smart controls for lighting, temperature, and door locks. B. Deploy fall detection sensors that automatically alert emergency services if a fall is detected. C. Install a bed exit alarm system that notifies the caregiver when the ward attempts to leave the bed independently. D. Assign a full-time in-home aide to supervise all daily activities for safety. The correct answer is A. This option leverages assistive technology to enable self-directed control of the environment without constant supervision or triggering external emergency responses, aligning with least restrictive principles. Reason B is not correct. Automatically calling emergency services can result in excessive interventions and reduce self-reliance. Reason C is not correct. An alarm system imposes constant monitoring and may restrict freedom by relying on alerts for routine movement. Reason D is not correct. Continuous supervision by an aide is highly restrictive and undermines autonomy. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below. We read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.